What's it like to have a boyfriend who's too wild? It's probably when the whole school knows that I have a boyfriend whose name is Ethan Frost. From then on no one dared to come and confess to me. Roses weave dreams of love, chase to see roses, romantic meaning endless. The romance is endless. Be sure to like, comment, retweet, follow or turn on notifications. Beautiful drama on Time to Embrace. Was in the middle of a fight when Ethan Frost called me to come downstairs, told him to wait, and then hung up the phone to continue to pull the emotionally out of control housemate. This very moment, my housemate Fiona Fong was having a war of words with her boyfriend over her cell phone. The reason for this is that we got a new makeup tutorial today. Girls love beauty, and we were very happy with our makeup. Thought we couldn't waste our morning's work just putting on makeup. This is the perfect makeup. How to go out for a shopping, dinner, a walk around to be considered complete. So we changed into our new dresses and were ready to go out. Fiona Fong's boyfriend's video call came through. She ran to the balcony to answer the phone. When she got on the phone, she happily showed off her outfit, hoping to get his approval and compliments. In the end, Fiona Fong's boyfriend came up and questioned her. Who are you going out with? Is it a man? When Fiona Fong heard this, she froze for a moment. She said, "How can I go out with a man? I went out with my roommates." Her boyfriend said he didn't believe her. If she wasn't going out with a man, why was she dressed so beautifully? He also sneered and said she wore a spaghetti strap dress to go out. Not at all self-respect. So Fiona Fong got angry, and the two of them have been arguing until now. She said she wanted to break up with him, and she also said she wanted to smack him in the face. Was able to calm her down. She hung up the phone to the bed. Paralyzed. Angrily, she asked, "Haruya, do you think men are also small-minded and narrow-minded? Girls dress up for their own pleasure, not to please the guys." I was just about to answer. Fiona Fong started talking again. They are prejudiced. It's like a girl has to go out covered up to be called a proper girl. I saw that she was angry and knew that it was useless to say too much. Not all men are like that. You can't generalize. Forget it. Ignore him. Fiona Fong dove headfirst into the quilt. Seeing her like this, I asked, "Are we still going out?" "No, your boyfriend just called you. You go out with him." Shrugged my shoulders helplessly. I was thinking of refusing Ethan Frost for Fiona Fong. Now it's just as well. It's better to be cheap for Ethan Frost. He. I looked in the mirror. It was perfect. It's Luna Spring. Her ponytail is great. Our Maple Hall is near the schoolyard. Every time Ethan Frost came to see me, he drew a lot of attention. Sure enough, I saw his cool motorcycle right after I came downstairs. It was all black with only the engine painted rose gold. Ethan Frost's tall form leaned against the side of the bike. Black jacket, black pants, and black sneakers. Curved my eyes and smiled. He was as ebony as his car, and it matched. Seeing me bounce and run towards him, Ethan Frost got up and wrapped his arms around me. So happy to see me, hopping around like a bunny. Laughed as I rubbed against his arms twice. "Of course, you're so handsome, you're killing it. For a Libra face dog like me, face value is justice." Ethan Frost let go of me and pointed to the back seat. "Get in. I found a nice dessert store. I'll take you to explore it." I took the helmet without saying a word, but then I thought that was a mistake. I wanted to go out with Fiona Fong, so I wore a dress. When I left the house, I just looked at my face in the mirror. I didn't change my clothes. I looked down in embarrassment, wondering if I should go upstairs and change. Ethan Frost saw what I was thinking and quickly took off his jacket and tied it around my waist. "New dress?" I nodded, winking starry-eyed, and asked, "Does it look good?" Ethan Frost gives a thumbs up. "It looks good. My campus sweetheart girlfriend looks good in anything." I made a scene and was about to give him two, going up for a kick. He circled me easily and carried me to the car. Same old rules. "Sit back and hold on to me." I honestly put my helmet on and wrapped my arms around him, followed by a roar of sound that rose and fell across the campus. But the sound of Ethan Frost's motorcycle wasn't as exaggerated. Unlike some of the biker gang's bikes that can't be called sound anymore, only noise. Didn't ride very fast, and his speed was always just right as long as I was there. Remembered something from 2 months ago. That day I was stopped by someone to confess my love under the dormitory building, surrounded by candles and ambient lights. Had clearly refused, but the other person wouldn't relent in asking me to give it a chance. What's even more outrageous is that the people who were watching the scene were also coaxing me to say yes. It was really a lot of food for thought. Not every girl likes to be confessed to in public, okay? Especially not this kind of crowd pressure, as if it's my fault if I don't say yes. That's when Ethan Frost appeared, walking through the crowd to my side. Was still wondering who this guy was when he swept me into his arms. Then he swept his eyes over the circle of people and said with a raised eyebrow, Are you guys having a candlelit gathering? Bring my girlfriend, not me. Then he didn't care how the others reacted and pulled me away. In the end, I thanked him for helping me out and invited him to dinner. Turns out he's not a graduate student at our school, but just comes here occasionally to play basketball with his friends. He happened to bump into me being embarrassed, so he gave me a hand. Think it is. I have not heard of the school has such a handsome man, and then one after another, we got acquainted. He 26, a year older than me, very chatty. It didn't take long for him to chase me, and we got together. Think today is still the anniversary of our 1 month together. Forget it. 1 month anniversary of what? The motorcycle pulled into the basement of the mall and Ethan Frost picked me up with one hand. Wait for me at the elevator. I'll park the car. I obediently stood in place, looking at his back. Cannot help but sigh. Ethan Frost's personality is actually nothing like what people think at first glance. When my roommate first found out that I was in a relationship with him, she said that he had a beautiful and handsome face like this. Coupled with that conspicuous and striking motorcycle, he was a standard sea king at first glance, was already falling into the whirlpool of Ethan Frost's face value, and returned with full disinterest. If players all look like this, I'm willing to take the pain of love for my sisters. But after spending some time with Ethan Frost, I think it's really hard to avoid prejudice. For example, Fiona Fong just wears pretty clothes and puts on a nice makeup. Her boyfriend thinks she's a beauty queen, and even suspects that she dresses up because she's going out with another man. Ethan Frost, on the other hand, has better skin, cooler behavior, and rides a motorcycle. It's that simple to be labeled a player, but I want to say he really isn't. He can buy a dozen of the same black short sleeves and wear them slowly. The fact that he can wear them with broad shoulders and a narrow waist is totally due to the fact that he is a natural beauty. Besides that motorcycle, he has never mentioned in front of me how much this car, how cooled. On the contrary, it is very precious. It, like their own pets. Not show off, just ride to ride around. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that. Can't think about it. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. I clenched my little fists and stomped my feet. My Ethan Frost isn't scummy at all. But what I didn't expect was that 1 minute I was thinking about Ethan Frost not being scummy, and the next minute he was displaying typical player behavior. Ever since he knew I have a sweet tooth, he's been looking for stores with a good reputation. The one he brought me to today was really good. With the last bite of cream down my throat, I rubbed my little tummy in satisfaction. Why now there was a long line in front of the store, but luckily we were early. Tastes good, doesn't it? Ethan Frost asked, leaning back in his chair and tapping his fingertips on the table. I nodded, seeing that the piece in front of him was untouched in one bite. Why don't you eat it? What, leave it for me again? I teased him on purpose. He didn't have a sweet tooth in the first place either. Every time he ordered an extra portion, it was actually because he was afraid that I would crave it. Ethan Frost pushed the cake in front of him and said with a smile from the corner of his eye, yeah, leave it for you to have an extra piece. After all, this is the last time I'm going to show you around the store. As soon as the words left my mouth, my hand froze as I picked up the spoon. I looked up at him in disbelief. What do you mean by that? Ethan Frost sneered, the corners of his mouth rising even more. What was clearly an expression full of gentle smiles. The next moment he said words that made his heart skip a beat, as if he were falling to the bottom of a valley. Let's break up. He lightly threw in this sentence, and then quietly looked at me. It was as if what he said was just a commonplace phrase that couldn't hurt anyone. I silently tried to adjust my breathing, my hand under the table pinching my flesh hard. All around me were sweet and affectionate couples, feeding each other and flirting. At this moment these fell on my eyes, extraordinarily harsh. The words that my roommate had said quietly surfaced in my mind. I held back my emotions and opened my mouth to ask, Ethan Frost, did you never intend to be serious in the first place? Serious? Ethan Frost paused. Following that, he said in a flirtatious tone, it was just for fun. Now I'm not interested, so let's just get together. I laughed in disbelief, a forced bitter laugh. This short sentence, every word was like a needle in my heart. So all the pampering and warmth before, even every glance, every move was all because of simple playfulness. I stared at the cake in front of me and only felt my throat tighten more and more. My eyes were slightly wet, and my voice trembled a little as I spoke. You're something else, playing with your feelings without fear of falling into it yourself one day. Ethan Frost sneered in disbelief. What? Are you going to cry now? He suddenly sank to his knees, his voice cold. It's just for fun, don't take it seriously. Didn't you say that yourself? I froze. When did I say that? He got up and looked down at me. Remember Xander Ching? I'm his friend. I was lost in thought at the name Xander Ching, When you broke up with him you said it was just for fun. You probably haven't thought about it, because of your words. He lost his mind and tried to jump into the river, and my eyes snapped open. What did you say? Ethan Frost's icy eyes landed on me unabashedly. Luna Spring. I'm doing this so that you too can experience what it's like to have your feelings toyed with. It's no one's fault but your own. With that, he walked out of the store without looking back. I was left alone for a long time. I walked all the way back to school. Ethan Frost's determined look was still bouncing around in my head. It was after 9 at night and there were still a lot of people playing on the basketball court. I touched the net and walked over to the edge to sit down, the evening breeze blowing across my cheeks sobering me up quite a bit. I carefully recalled every word Ethan Frost had said, including his every gesture and expression. Hadn't realized that a man so bright and dazzling could do and say mean things without any contradiction. Tilted my head back to look at the sky, releasing a little bit of the suppressed sadness inside. Crystalline teardrops slid down the corners of my eyes, and I stubbornly wiped them away. Ethan Frost, Xander Ching, heh. For a good half a minute, as I cried, I suddenly laughed. And it was an uncontrollable belly laugh. When a basketball rolled down to my feet, I looked up, and the man with the white shirt attacking his body was rolling up his cuffs and looking at me with a speechless face. He looked me up and down twice and bounced my forehead. Luna Spring. You're crying and laughing so weirdly. I'm getting goosebumps. It's not as creepy as you are, who wears a white shirt to play ball at night. But of course, I can't say that because I'm begging someone. I pretended to smile flatteringly and said, Xander Ching. Ethan Frost broke up with me today. At this moment, my tone was not only not the least bit sad, but was instead laced with hidden joy. It was a far cry from the lost and despondent person I was not long ago. Xander Ching poked me in the head and reprimanded me. Don't be childish, call me uncle. I took his hand with a wink and blinked my big watery eyes. Why, handsome Uncle Xander, please help me again. We can't stop the play in the middle. Keep it in the family. You have to help me get Ethan Frost. Actually, the first time I met Ethan Frost was not 2 months ago, rather. It was the day I returned to school early at the end of winter break. Still remember the snowy and windy day when I was standing at the bus stop waiting for the bus order to prevent my suitcase from being blown away by the wind. I held on to the pole and leaned against a billboard. The road was littered with broken tree branches, and there were cars with double flashers on one after another. Even though I had my head wrapped in a down hat, a mask, and a scarf with only my eyes exposed, the air in my lungs remained the same, but the air I sucked into my lungs was still icy and I was shivering. The bus came after a long time, but I couldn't get on it at all. The platform was full of people, and they swarmed up to the bus, jamming the door shut. Gave up, but I couldn't get a bus, so I had to hope for the next one. There were other people who didn't get on the bus like me, but he was the only one I noticed. Black down jacket, black knit cap, black gloves, from head to toe black to the end. The moment I saw him, I was lost in thought. What kind of person can have eyes as bright as stars, so clear and bright, like gravity? Suck away the human gaze. I cannot help but walk toward him, pretending to be natural, not dare to look more vaguely. I heard him calling for roadside assistance to come to the tow truck. Inclined my head to look, and sure enough, there was a cool black motorcycle. So cool, so handsome. Like a dark night, I thought. Turns out it wasn't waiting for public transportation. At that moment he hung up the phone and suddenly walked towards the front, not taking a few steps before crouching down and picking up a red plastic bag from the snow. Quite civilized in quality, I appreciated, nodded, but I did not think that is not the people casually throw away the garbage. The man waiting for the car on the side came up to take a look and exclaimed that the young man was so lucky to have found money. Money, what kind of coy body is this? I grew up so big, never picked up money. The onlookers took a closer look and said, it's just over $100, right, and it's all in change. It's just enough to buy a pack of cigarettes, young man. But this Mr. Dark Knight did not put the money into his pocket, just replied, I don't smoked. He carried the plastic bag to the bench and spread the snow-soaked money one by one. Wind is too strong. He did not lay a few sheets, have to change position to avoid the wind. I saw him so tall and bent over, I did not even think about squatting on the other side of him. He looked up with some surprise and said thank you to me sincerely. You want to return the money to the owner, don't you? I asked. He focused on picking apart each paper ticket, nodded lightly. The onlookers were still rambling. Who would come back for such a small amount of money on such a cold day? Mr. Dark Knight didn't make a sound. The Moncler Outlet Store online store read a few more sentences to see no one cared about him. Happened to be the bus came. He rushed to get on the bus, looked at the paper tickets that were carefully separated on the bench. $1, $5, $10. The few tickets that weren't wet were crumpled and rolled into a ball, slightly yellowed and stained, and that plastic bag also contains half a piece of unfinished steamed bread and a small note. The note was written the address of XXX People's Hospital. An imaginary picture then surfaced in my mind. In the cold wind, there is such a person, bit into a steamed bun, put his hard-earned money into a plastic bag and clutched it tightly in his hand. Then he took the note and asked around for the address on it, inquiring about the route to the hospital. $100 is not much, bits and pieces. Maybe all this person can have is some people see it as a cold one, while others see it as a hard-earned one. I look over my shoulder subconsciously at the person next to me, and my heart ripples as if something captured me at this moment, gripping my heart extremely tight. In the end, the uncontrollable surge converged in my eyes, coalesced into 2 points of starbursts, and quietly hidden in the depths of the eyes a sheet of paper tickets were laid out by him, wiped dry, and then meticulously folded and rolled up and stuffed back into the bag. It was too cold. He told me to go home and stay by myself, but I shook my head and said I'd just wait half an hour. No one came to claim it, it would go to the police. Then we sat unspokenly on the bench and waited for its owner. The wait was not as long as I had imagined, and the owner returned. He was a stooped old man who stepped hurriedly on the snowy road covered with mud and water, looking around in a panic. A pair of rough wrinkled hands received the plastic bag. Cannot stop trembling, he thanked him over and over again, saying that it was the money he had saved every day, and he had just rushed over from the hospital's emergency charge. Squeezing the bus and dropping it was the only possibility he could think of, and the bus stop was the only chance he had to find it. Luckily, Gramps ran into Mr. Dark Knight, looked sideways at the man, but turned away sheepishly at the gaze he came looking down on me. His trailer came and another thank you. Mr. Dark Knight bids me goodbye and walks away at a steady pace. I stared at his broad, sturdy back, my cheeks burning slightly. It's over. My heart seems to have followed a stranger. Since then, from time to time, I would think of everything that happened that day, thought it was a one-sided relationship in a sea of people. But I never expected that just a month later, this face would appear in my sight again. Uncle Xander Ching, who was studying at the same school as me, had finally returned from an exchange trip abroad, when I went to the stadium to look for him. The figure of that man crashed into my eyes without any reservation, stood beside Xander Ching, smiling and laughing, and they were very close. I laughed, and laughed so happily and gladly. In the evening, I treated Xander Ching to a big meal and inquired about Mr. Dark Knight. Oh, his name was Ethan Frost. Ethan Frost is gone. Goodbye, spring. I laughed and sighed with excitement that it was fate. However, Xander Ching said that the Mr. Dark Knight that I had been longing for had already hidden someone in his heart. Even if we were introduced, Ethan Frost would not have any idea about me. Even if I pursue him relentlessly, I can't shake his heart. Emo. It's so hard to meet a man I like. Is it so easy to be dissuaded? Of course not. I am quirky soul Luna Spring. I am a quirky soul Luna Spring. I can't do it conventionally, so I'm going to do it the other way around. And the time it took me to have dinner, I already had a big play in mind. As the lead actor in the play, Xander Ching has the most important task: pretend to be my ex-boyfriend, act out the scene of being played with his feelings and then being in pain, then persuades his best friend, comrade Ethan Frost, to take revenge for him. At first, Xander Ching strongly refused, but he couldn't stand my persistence. Just like Ethan Frost, if you want him to approach me on purpose for Xander Ching and then dump me, then you have to make the scene realistic enough. So much so that Xander Ching locked himself up in his house, liver a few days in a row of alcohol, do not answer the phone, do not answer the message, and even went to jump into the river on a cold day. And things did turn out just as I planned. Ethan Frost approached me, teased me, fell in love with me, and then broke up with me. Ethan Frost was the one who took the initiative and walked out on me first. On the other hand, went all the way around the bend to unseat Ethan Frost, when the time is right. Let Xander Ching explained. In fact, we broke up peacefully. It was him who couldn't let go and thought I was playing with his feelings. In this way, Ethan Frost will know that he misunderstood me, and then further deepen the bond between us. Anyway, whether or not Ethan Frost had any semblance of truth in this period of fake drama, the name Luna Spring ended up leaving a far deeper impression on his mind than a frontal unsolicited backstroke. My breakup with Ethan Frost was just the first step in my strong-arming him. When Ethan Frost came back to me, I was rehearsing a new play. The boy I was playing opposite was a junior in the first year of graduate school, was very unusual today, was always lost in thought and made mistakes. Are you feeling sick? You're so unfocused, asked him caringly. But I didn't expect him to say with an embarrassed face, Haruya-chan, your boyfriend keeps staring at this place, should we pause for a while? It was only when he mentioned it that I looked down at the stage. Ethan Frost had been sitting there for who knows how long, and there were no lights on in the audience, was hidden in the darkness, so I couldn't see him unless I looked closely. You have night vision, don't you? I glanced over and confessed in front of the crowd. We broke up, he's not my boyfriend, ignored the shock on everyone's faces and continued to concentrate on the scene. An hour later the rehearsal was over, and we were talking and laughing about the evening's dinner party. I was just about to suggest something when Ethan Frost walked onto the stage at some point. Luna Spring, let's talk. The school's third cafeteria, the most crowded on weekdays, was closest to my dorm. Asked in a hushed voice, looking at the tables piled high with desserts and the people coming and going around me. What do you mean? I'm sorry, he said. I froze, not expecting those 3 words to come out of his mouth. Was telling Xander Ching to go on and finish the play and go to Ethan Frost to explain, but I didn't expect that Ethan Frost would apologize too quickly. Unlike some people who say they want to apologize, but in the end they just don't say sorry. Why didn't you tell me that it was Xander Ching? Method acting. Unrequitedly in love with you. Method acting. I kind of didn't get it and couldn't help but frown. Isn't he your ex-drama partner? You guys were so deep in your pairing in that scene. It was hard for him to jump out of the drama character, like he was really into you. Is that what Xander Ching said? He's a former drama president, yes, but method acting is obsessed with me? I thought the right line was for him to tell Ethan Frost that we broke up peacefully, that it was all in good fun and not to be taken seriously, and that he was the one who imposed it on me. Who would have thought to change the line without telling me? My Uncle Xander. You're so full of shit. Artistic obsession. Method acting? I can't believe you're not the next Golden X Award winner. So you came here today to tell me you're sorry. Well then you've said it, you can go now. I pretended to be indifferent, but in my heart I encouraged myself to be reserved. I tried my best to keep my eyes lowered, not to glance at Ethan Frost. Nay, he said in a tone full of sincerity, I won't defend myself in any way, and am in no position to ask to be forgiven by you. I was an asshole and hurt you. You can I'd like you to give me a chance to make it right. I thought I'd misheard him. He said he wanted to make amends. I laughed and asked, pointing to the dessert in front of me, how do I make up for it? By bringing the entire city's desserts to me. He actually stared seriously for a moment, and after a few moments returned, I'll do whatever you want. Crazy. Ethan Frost wasn't drowning in self-doubt and guilt. I got up and handed out the desserts on the table to the people around me in front of him. Whenever someone thanked me and said, your boyfriend is so nice to you, I would reply with a, we broke up, this is a breakup gift, until the table was empty and nothing was left. I met Ethan Frost's silent gaze. The corners of his lips lifted slightly in a mocking sneer. I like a lot of things. Desserts, snacks, pretty dresses. If you want to move, oh fine, then you move, he said, just as he had done when he left me alone in the store. I turned around and left, not even looking at him again. I just strutted out of the cafeteria, dodged around the corner, and gasped uncontrollably, good lord, Luna Spring, that play hard to get. Well done. It's just a shame about the desserts. For crying out loud, I didn't get a single bite. I stood in the hallway, fingers snapping as I typed. A few hundred words of small essays were born, bombarding Xander Ching with a single keystroke. In the end, Lord Uncle only sent me back a sentence. Isn't it enough that he believes it? You have a problem with my improvisation. I try to smile and reply with a dare not emoticon. Just pushed open the door of the dormitory and wanted to ask Fiona Fong if she wanted to have dinner with me. This guy came at me head on and hugged me full on. Luna Spring, I heard you broke up with Street Fighter. Street Fighter? Who's Street Fighter? I had the look of an old grandpa looking at his cell phone in the subway. Fiona Fong ignored me and just waved her cell phone. Didn't you read Twitter? Do you remember that topic related to you? I thought about it, and out of all the topics related to our school, there was only one that was related to me. Hashtag Luna Spring broke up today. Huh? Hasn't this topic been around before? I remember it was when I first got together with Ethan Frost and there were a few people who claimed to be fans. They would go to the school's blog and leave comments, and one of them was the guy who had blocked me downstairs to confess. These people also started a private support group for a few people. Later on in the topics related to the school, there was inexplicably one more topic related to me. Just looked, there are a lot of people who put up pictures of the cake, saying it's your breakup gift, and they all brought up this topic. Now this topic has caught the attention of so many people at school. Fiona Fong flipped through the Weibo updates and handed it to me, scribbled a glance and sat back in my chair. The people involved hadn't even eaten it themselves. So reading too much about it would only make my heart sink. That Street Fighter you were talking about, is that Ethan Frost? Yeah, why do you call him Street Fighter? What kind of nickname is that? Does he look like a jerk? I think so. I almost laughed out loud when I remembered his face. Fiona Fong flipped over her chat screen with her boyfriend and showed me. At the beginning was a picture of a motorcycle, similar to Ethan Frost's, but slightly different. And why date said that this bike is this brand's Street Fighter series, so that's why he codenamed it Street Fighter. So if it's a Street Fighter, wouldn't Ethan Frost be nicknamed Street Fighter? I couldn't help myself, and to hide my laughter, I changed the subject. Didn't you and your boyfriend have a Cold War? How did you make up? Fiona Fong heard a few twists and turns, full of shyness, said, he apologized to me and coaxed me for a long time before we made up. Scroll down and I'll show you the chat logs. I hesitated for a moment, saying that this is not good, right, in case I see something hot. But Fiona Fong insisted, saying there was nothing she couldn't see. I carefully swiped. The more I looked, the more embarrassed I felt. Doesn't he feel very affectionate? I didn't realize that he was quite romantic when he talked about love. Fiona Fong pursed her lips and spun in place in a state of teenage wistfulness. I looked at the content on the screen and couldn't help but wonder where this was copied from. What, loving you isn't the only way out, but I only seem to be attracted to you. And what about the fact that when you show up, everyone else seems like nothing more than that? I skimmed from the beginning to the end, and there were so many words like that. The words I'm sorry and I was wrong just didn't come up. And at the end there was another reminder to Fiona Fong: next time, don't dress up so beautifully and wear such a sexy dress. I was so angry before because I love you too much. Fiona Fong actually said something back. Okay, I will listen to my husband from now on. What the hell? After reading this, all I can think of is it. This is, I couldn't help but ask Fiona Fong, is this called an apology? Fiona Fong probably heard the wrongness in my tone and blushed. Fiona Fong probably heard something wrong in my tone and blushed. Isn't that what your boyfriend who just broke up with you does when he apologizes? I would say no. Most people wouldn't apologize like this. It didn't feel sincere at all, but Fiona Fong looked really serious. She's the kind of person who can't say anything bad about her boyfriend except for herself. Her previous BFF broke up with her because she advised her to break up, and they ended up having a fight. So when I saw her expression, I didn't dare to say anything. One is willing to fight, the other is willing to suffer. I try to persuade her. I'll probably think I'm meddling in her business. So I could only pretend to be envious and said, no, I don't think this is an apology. He's confessing to you in a different way. Fiona Fong smiled in relief after hearing this, and returned to her shy demeanor, turned around and sighed silently. Compared to Fiona Fong's boyfriend, Ethan Frost's way of apologizing was quite sincere and straightforward. Of course, it was also quite grounded. Thinking about what I said to him today, don't think he's really going to take all the things I've said off the cuff and bring them to the forefront, is he? I don't think so, right? I hinted to myself. As it turns out, he really didn't bring any of that to my attention. After all, it's a waste of labor, resources, and time. Just did it in a different, more direct and exaggerated way. When I went shopping at the school supermarket, the owner said I didn't have to pay the bill. When I go to the cafe in the shopping street in front of the school, the boss says I don't have to pay the bill. When I go to the mall where I often shop for dresses, the boss says I don't have to pay the bill. Even the store where I usually shop online, the boss refunded me the money just after I placed the order. Ethan Frost, this wave of operation will not be a little too show. So I couldn't take it anymore, and while I finally finished correcting my paper and turned it in, took a taxi and went straight to the racetrack where Ethan Frost often goes. This was the first time I had been to this place, and Ethan Frost had said earlier that he would bring me here to play. Didn't know anything about motorcycles, plus I was busy with my thesis, so I put it off. A tall and lanky big brother saw me at the door and asked me if I was looking for Ethan Frost, right? I was dumbfounded. Did I have the words "I'm looking for Ethan Frost" written on my face? Big brother led me all the way through the inner passage and finally entered a place that looked like an assembly and maintenance workshop. Yen, your girlfriend is here. Big brother's mellow voice was too loud and drew gazes from the field towards me. There were drivers in different racing suits, youngsters with pliers, and several pretty girls with hot and delicate figures. These girls are so cute and eye-catching. Libra face dog attribute enhanced me. My eyes locked onto the beautiful girls. TSK, that curve of that temperament. Wipe your harumph. A familiar and magnetic voice broke into my ears. I turned around to see Ethan Frost, his lips curling, standing right behind me. His face and arms were covered in dirt like black paint, and he was carrying a wrench in his hand. Despite all the dirt and grime, he seemed happy. When he smiled, he was even more dazzling and better looking, bright eyes and white teeth, jade face, and vermilion lips. Uncontrollably, my face rolled a little hotter, and the rhythm of my heartbeat went haywire. Pretended to hide a light cough, whispered, "Come over here. I have something to say to you." He gave a wink to the person next to him, put down his tools and followed me out. Outside was the racetrack, where a race was underway. One motorcycle after another flew past in front of my eyes, giving me a thrill of speed and passion. "Yo, you want to try a ride?" Ethan Frost walked up to me and eyed the track in front of him. "Forget it, I'm too chicken to do that. And not as brave as you," I said. "I'll just watch. I can't even ride a motorized bike properly." "Why are you a mechanic now? Why don't you go for a ride?" I asked curiously. Ethan Frost smiled a little and put his arms around me. "I don't race, I don't play," he explained, pointing to the teams next to us. "Those are professional racers. I'm an enthusiast at best." I glanced in the direction he was pointing. "Thought you were a racer. Seeing as you're so precious about your car." "No, I just like it. I'm not a racer." At this moment, a man wearing a helmet and a racing suit came over and patted Ethan Frost on the shoulder. "Don't listen to him, sis. He's just being modest. We're offended that he's not the man for the job. Isn't that right, fellas?" He looks back at the crowd, and there's a strong reaction. "He's not only a great driver, he's a great assembler and repairer, but he's too creative to be in the front of the stage. He's got to be behind the scenes." "Sister-in-law, why don't you help Big Brother persuade him to have a race with me? I'm begging you to fulfill my dream." "That's not true. Who's his sibling? We've already broken up. I've forgotten why I'm here. I'm not his girlfriend anymore." "I can't help you." I smiled in embarrassment and played it cool, peeking slightly at Ethan Frost's expression. He looks straight at me and doesn't know what he's thinking. The Big Brother then reacted, and his smile tightened. Then he said in a tone of great pity, "Blow it. This guy for you. The back seat of the car are modified, just to be able to take you. Normally, we don't even touch it. Sis, do you want to stop thinking about it?" My Big Brother made a move to get in front of me, but Ethan Frost kicked him away fiercely. "If you don't leave, you don't want your car anymore." The Big Brother, without saying a word, slapped his ass and slipped away. Ethan Frost glared at me. "Luna Spring, you're afraid that people don't know that we broke up, but you have to say it to everyone. Hey, that's an arrogant tone, isn't it? It's a fact that we broke up. There's no need for people to get the wrong idea." Brought up the things he did and spat on them. Why now? "I think the whole school knows that I, Luna Spring, don't get paid to spend money at school." "Ethan Frost, I forgive you, okay? We don't owe each other anything anymore. This keeps up, I might get called in for a talk." It's not a good idea for someone to take it to the level of a style problem. Ethan Frost pondered for a moment and said with a serious look on his face, "Luna Spring, you can turn the page, but I can't. I still have a guilty conscience. Why don't you give me one more chance, and let's try to get along for real? If we feel something for each other, then we'll be together. How's that sound?" I didn't think Ethan Frost's guilt would make him say such a thing. He seemed to be a man who valued his feelings and was a good and decent man. This, on the contrary, made me, who had set him up, feel a twinge of shame. Originally I wanted to leave him alone for a while, and then I would find a time to propose to try this out together. Didn't expect Ethan Frost to take a step ahead of me and say what I was going to say. "So the plan really can't catch up with the change, I asked with an inward apprehension and some hidden throbbing. "Is that what you think?" Who knew Ethan Frost would follow up with, "It was Xander Ching's idea. He felt he couldn't do right by you, so he gave me a tip. Said it's a good way to apologize, and maybe if we try it, we can make it work." As Xander Ching, my eyes lit up. Uncle Xander's assist was great. Uncle Xander is the best. "But I don't think that's a good idea." Ethan Frost looked down at me and hesitated. "If it doesn't work out, won't it hurt you twice?" When I heard this, my heart stuttered. If Ethan Frost had even the slightest hint of affection in his heart for me, he wouldn't say that if it didn't work out, it would be a secondary injury to you. He wouldn't have said something like "if it didn't work out." Only if he was certain in his heart that he wouldn't develop feelings for me would he give me a precaution in such a way. A roiling wave of loss came over me, and in just a moment my mood was in such a downward spiral. Asked in a hushed voice, "Ethan Frost, do you have a favorite?" Even though it was a knowing question, I wanted to find out for myself. Ethan Frost, who fell into my eyes, nodded. "Yes, someone I liked in college," he answered with a soft, light, and extraordinarily gentle voice. Think he must be thinking about that girl at the moment, because he didn't even realize how much of a smile that made me tug at my heartstrings was hidden in the corners of his raised mouth. Probably thought that telling me this honestly would help me realize that he really didn't want to hurt me anymore. and would also prevent me from thinking about him, but I'm Luna Spring, and I've never been one to rise to the occasion, and looked at Ethan Frost and mentally chanted, "Once upon a time, I saw you that stunning in the snow and wind. I don't get it, how can I have peace for the rest of my life?" Ethan Frost, I had never called his name in such a sweet tone. He visibly froze. What if I'm willing to accept this form of apology? We can start off as friends, and we don't have to drag it out for that long, just a month. And if we still don't feel anything at the end of that time, well, just say a proper goodbye to each other and never contact each other again. He wrinkled his eyebrows and repeated, 1 month, yes, 1 month, because it doesn't take that long to fall in love with someone. It may even be just an instant. That's how it works, isn't it? Love at first sight. I tilted my head to meet Ethan Frost's eyes, quietly waiting for his answer. His eyes twinkled for a few moments and he replied, "Fine. Whenever you want." My life went back to a routine with Ethan Frost. Even though I told him to stop charging to school, the owners of those stores still wouldn't take my money. Said Ethan Frost had made enough purchases to last me through graduation. This loser. Playing splurge here. Now the school administration not only didn't call me to talk, they even teased me. Guess maybe all those stores are owned by relatives of the school leaders? And those alumni who ate my breakup cake and met me on the road actually had the guts to ask me, when is the next time I fight and break up, can I coax a different dessert store? Head, I can be considered to have become the whole school popular figure. In just a week or so, I suddenly jumped from a small campus sweetheart to be recognized by more people and became the school flower point. One day Ethan Frost sent me a message asking me to come downstairs, and it just so happened that my roommate Fiona Fong's boyfriend was also downstairs. She asked me if she could let her boyfriend have a closer look at Ethan Frost's motorcycle, said I couldn't make that decision, but I could ask. So I walked up to Ethan Frost, not knowing what to say. After all, his bike was his big baby. "What's the matter? You need a favor?" Ethan Frost asked with a gangly grin, reading my mind. I pointed to Fiona Fong's boyfriend, who was not far away with his eyes glowing gold. "Here to confess your love again." Ethan Frost's face instantly darkened and his tone was very unpleasant. After the news that I broke up with him spread out, a number of admirers came to confess their love for him one after another. Ethan Frost probably got tired of dealing with them, and even joked about taking me to have plastic surgery. The uglier the better, the less he had to worry about. "No, that's my roommate's boyfriend. He wanted to get a closer look at your car and asked me to ask you, okay?" I looked at him with round eyes. Ethan Frost, with an odd look on his face, came to my ear and whispered, "Yes, why wouldn't I?" Then he walked behind me with his head held high. It took me a few seconds to realize what he meant, and my ears turned red with shame. "This is not the bus to kindergarten. I'm not taking it." Fiona Fong's boyfriend finally got his wish to meet the motorcycle up close and personal under the deathless gaze of Ethan Frost. He asked questions with excitement, and Ethan Frost responded politely, "Brother Yen, you've changed your bike. Is this the big devil? It's so cool." Fiona Fong's boyfriend carefully picked up his cell phone and took a picture of the same car. It was only when I was told that I realized that I had changed my car. It's all pitch black in color. I can't even tell. Well, congratulations to Ethan Frost on his new nickname, the Big Devil. After taking a bunch of photos, Fiona Fong and her boyfriend left with their hearts contented. That's when I remembered the message Ethan Frost sent me. "Hey Granny, dress up and come downstairs. I've got some serious business for you." "Didn't you say something serious?" "What is it?" Ethan Frost looked me up and down. "Why are you wearing a jacket? Are you cold?" I lifted the collar of my jacket, revealing a lake blue spaghetti strap dress underneath. "You told me to look nice, so I wore this war dress, but I was afraid it would be too conspicuous and you'd say I was overdressed." After all, if Fiona Fong thought I was going to walk down the aisle when I coiled my hair and put on this dress. With me you have the freedom to dress the way you want to. Ethan Frost laughed with the utmost abandon, slapping the back seat as he crossed his long legs into the car. "You never said I was cool on a bike either." Didn't realize that Ethan Frost asked me to dress up for the opening party. When I looked at the 3-story building in front of me, the width of an entire school building, I was in a complete daze. The moment the lights were on and streaming, all kinds of motorcycles were neatly arranged in the 3-story transparent glass space. It was hard to imagine that Ethan Frost actually owned a motorcycle for his store. He pulled me towards the front door, which was already crowded with people. There were ribbons and balloons all over the ground. When they saw Ethan Frost, they swarmed around him and kept exclaiming, "I chow, he really took out a motorcycle. I chow, he really modified the back seat of his car." I accidentally bumped into his car and nothing happened, and he held a grudge against me for more than 2 months. As I listened to these people sighing, I double-checked with Ethan Frost, is this really your store? So you're a big shot with a low profile. Xander Ching never mentioned it to me. Thinking about it, I realized that anyone who could hang out with Xander Ching was not that bad. Ethan Frost pulled me along and walked straight to the center of the hall. He took 2 glasses of champagne from someone else, handed me a glass, and said in my ear, I'm not a big shot, I'm just a young entrepreneur. When I raise my glass, you can just pretend to take a sip. He tapped on the wall of the glass to attract people's attention. Sorry to keep you all waiting, but thank you for taking the time to come to Lunas Haven's opening party today. Lunas Haven? The name of this Fours store is Lunas Haven? I stared up at Ethan Frost in stunned silence, took a sip of champagne and smiled out of the corner of his eye, collected myself and lifted my glass to take an involuntary sip, full of coincidences, right? My nickname is Mingyu. Ling Ming Yue. It must be a coincidence. Ethan Frost could not possibly know my nickname, much less name his Fours store after me. Could it be that the person he likes has the word Mingyue in her name? I'll take care of the customers later. If you're bored you can rest by the side. There are desserts and pastas there. Nodded sullenly, still thinking about the name in my mind. But soon my doubts were answered by the gossip I accidentally overheard. In the bathroom, I listened to the people outside as you and I talked about it. I heard the store was named after Ethan Frost's first college love, Lunas Haven. TSK, 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 TSK. What's with that girl he brought in today? A girlfriend? I think so. She's here for the opening banquet. Wonder if she knows the meaning of Lunas Haven. Now I know. Thanks to you 2 sisters for telling me. Let out a small sigh. It's really that bright moon, not the bright moon that I am. Bored, I sat around and turned my boredom into an appetite, eliminating dessert after dessert. The others were busy socializing and laughing. Bit into my spoon and stretched my arm to look over, my eyes landing on Ethan Frost, who was surrounded by people. Mr. Dark Knight is in his usual style today. A black turtleneck sweater over a black leather jacket and black pants that accented his long frame extremely well. With a clean, short haircut, he looks extraordinarily spry and bright. After adding the new low-profile Big Brother persona, how to look at how to feel gangster handsome, but also with a bit of domineering president feeling. One hand is holding a glass of champagne. One hand is casually copied in the pants pocket. I don't know what happy things to say with the person beside me. The corner of the eye curved, a hook of the lips, a raised eyebrow, will be in the hands of the wine. A drink of shit a nationalist was. I cannot help but out of the mouth. Raised eyebrow kill simply hit my heart. The strong sense of slag Sue instantly overflowed. Mama, Uncle do not blame me for no talent. The face of the dog I want to rush up to hug and kiss. At this time the phone rang suddenly, pulling me back to reality. I saw the caller ID. Uncle Xander Che must have just seen my message. With a mouthful of cake, I pressed the answer button. #yen%. Luna Spring, speak human. I patted my chest and nearly choked. Why didn't you see my message until now? Ethan Frost is opening a new store today. Why didn't I see you there? Why don't your buddies send a basket of flowers? The other end of the line said. Do you still have to play along with you? Not to mention I can't go. I'm out of town, and I've already given him a big red packet in advance. A big red packet? How big? My eyes lit up. Dear Uncle Xander, can you wrap it for your lovely niece too? Do. Wrap a big red envelope. His mid-sentence was interrupted by the relentless tone of the phone. I've been on the phone for 30 seconds. Xander Ching, you cheap bastard, what fake family bond? He can't stand the test of a small amount of money. I was so angry that I stuffed another piece of cake, talking to your family on the phone. Ethan Frost came over and sat down on the chair next to me. I stammered, well, talk to me Uncle Xander. Ethan Frost nodded. Oh, I have an Uncle Xander too. Huh, why bring that up all of a sudden? To keep the conversation from staying on top of my uncle's topic so it doesn't slip through the cracks. Embarrassed, I casually pick up a piece of cake and hand it to Ethan Frost. Why don't you eat something? Drinking alone is bad for your stomach. Yeah, as long as we don't talk about my uncle, we can talk as awkwardly as we want. You forgot I don't eat sweets. Ethan Frost stared at my outstretched hand. I didn't forget, I was just trying to change the subject. Didn't forget, I just think it's bad for your stomach to drink on an empty stomach. So why don't you try one? I said, picking up a spoon and digging into it, handing it to Ethan Frost's mouth. Was hesitant at first, but finally accepted my offer. Man, This is the first time I've ever seen him eat something sweet, and it's a rare sight. Ethan Frost finished eating and sighed unexpectedly. Luna Spring, I envy you for eating so many sweets and not gaining weight. Unlike me, I'm easy to put on weight. Ethan Frost is actually fat-prone. That's a surprise. I've been thinking about it all the way here. Said there are not so many naturally beautiful people in the world, and he has to work out to maintain his figure. Not touching sweets and exercising were part of his regular routine. Here we are. Ethan Frost led me to the door of his house. This was the first time I came to his house, because it was already late when the show ended. Even if I took a taxi to get back to school, the dormitory building was already closed and I couldn't get in. Ethan Frost suggested and asked me if I wouldn't mind staying at his house temporarily for the night, inviting a wolf into the house. That's great. I don't intend to do anything about it. I wasn't going to do anything about it, but I couldn't pass up a chance to be alone. After he cleaned up the guest room, he heard my growling stomach and ordered me a bowl of noodles despite my refusal. Luna Spring, you're here to pull the hatchet, aren't you? You get hungry fast, you eat a lot, and you don't get fat. He glared at me with his arms folded. Disliked him back as I shivered my noodles. This girl is that rare natural beauty you talk about. He shook his head. Come on, granny, you eat slowly. I'm going to take a bath. Take a bath? I stared at his back with some embarrassment. This line of dialogue coupled with this subtle atmosphere of solitude instantly made me blush. While Ethan Frost was in the shower, I quickly finished my bowl of noodles. Thought I'd open the window to get some air and ease these hot cheeks of mine. The moonlight outside the window was so beautiful, but suddenly I could see that my thoughts were all over the place. The moon, first love, white moonlight. I couldn't help but laugh, my mood instantly dropping. I was watching TV on the couch when Ethan Frost got out of the shower, probably forgot someone was home for a moment and came out half naked, rubbing his wet hair, looked at each other, and his hands froze as he suddenly reacted. Sorry, I forgot, he said, turning around and walking to his room. Was still in a daze. All I could think about was the image that had just caught my eye. The droplets of water dripping from my hair slid down my collarbone to my abs, and finally disappeared near the mermaid line that made it hard to take my eyes off of it. What a beautiful scene. Obviously should make me more and more shy. Cannot help it, but my heart seems to be blocked with a heavy stone. Dull. I think it's probably because it's not just those tantalizing droplets of water that fall into my eyes. There was also the blinding moon tattooed over Ethan Frost's heart. It was 0:20 a.m. and we were still sitting on the couch in the living room. Didn't care what was on TV. As a guest, I didn't go to bed, and Ethan Frost was probably too embarrassed to go to sleep first. Hesitated for a moment and decided to be the first to break the silence. Ethan Frost, can I ask you something? You ask. His gaze was still fixed on the television. I pursed my lips and picked at my fingers tentatively. How many years did you talk about college with the guy you liked before? I surreptitiously gauged Ethan Frost's reaction, and sure enough, he stopped switching channels at the question. Never talked about it. We were in college, he said. The voice was light, the tone flat. The answer was a little different from what I had guessed. Surprised, Ethan Frost turned his head to look at me, nodded. You were good in every way. Why didn't you get together? Because I had low self-esteem at the time and thought she was too unreachable. Ethan Frost leaned back on the couch and looked at me with a straight face. Thought I was missing the point. Low self-esteem, you're talking out of your ass. How can anyone live with that? Ethan Frost heard the disbelief in my tone and laughed. Didn't I tell you? I'm a fat person. You don't know. I was over 200 pounds in college. Very fat. I tilted my head speechless, just incredulous. Hands compared to the words of more than 200 pounds. That really is a far cry from the current body type. Because I'm so fat, I don't have the confidence, let alone the confidence to confess. Ethan Frost continued to laugh bitterly as if he remembered something. Because I liked it so much, I made up my mind to lose weight. Unfortunately, by the time I lost the weight, a long time had passed and I missed the opportunity. I listened to him with a sad face as he spilled his guts. I didn't realize that Ethan Frost, the ultimate son, also had such a past. How much he must have liked it, how much he wanted it, even after all this time. He was still so disciplined, so that when we have the chance to meet again someday in the future, we'll have enough confidence and courage to catch her. Hey, I'm good at that. I am digging a hole for myself to hear such a story. Am dying of acid. I can't help but feel a little moist at the corner of my eyes as I think of that. Heart moon again. Come to think of it, he took me to the opening banquet and unabashedly mentioned the name of the store called Luna's Haven. Even someone who was usually so meticulous and considerate would actually forget to put on his shirt and come out half-naked. In fact, This is all his way of persuading me to give up in such a subtle way without directly hurting me. Okay, that's it. I'll take it. Luna Spring, you are stubborn and arrogant. I've hit the wall and it's time to turn back. It was still light when I left Ethan Frost's house. I moved very gently for fear of waking him up. It wasn't until I got back to the dormitory floor that I clicked on the pre-written paragraph and sent it. Had promised to say a proper goodbye, but I just couldn't do it. Ethan Frost, since you like someone so much that your heart can't get over it, then get up the courage to go after them. It's a long life, and we should all try not to leave any regrets. Welcomed the cold wind in the early morning and breathed deeply. Delete the WeChat, pull the black phone, let this drama end. Luna Spring, when people are unhappy, they are growing, then let this kind of growth become a good memory in life. After all, it's not easy to meet such a stunning person. 2 months later, at the Centennial Gala. As the representative of the house, I encountered a rare scene of social death. The person who once confessed his love to me under the dormitory building, perhaps out of love became hate, after being repeatedly rejected by me. He had a big change of heart. So much so that during the question and answer session, he grabbed the microphone and forced me to ask about my current relationship status. Order not to affect the smooth running of the celebration. I could only pretend to be kind and return to him. Personal privacy is not convenient to disclose, but this person did not stop, and even emotional sarcasm to me, said what I am, just a shallow woman, who has money and who looks good, and who to socialize. For those who are average looking and have no money, never look at the admirers. Even if these adorers are talented and considerate, they are not as good as a couple $100,000 in motorcycles. The first thing you need to do is to get a good deal on a motorcycle that is not as attractive as one of the hundreds of thousands of motorcycles. I didn't want to be bothered with him, but when I heard his last sentence, I still had a surge of anger and blood in my heart. Do you think that if you are very gentle and considerate, can do the early request and late greeting, and even say love words to be able to set a set of words, women will like a man like you? I laughed coldly. Let me tell you, women are not as shallow as you think. Compared to men like you, those who really know how to respect women, who can learn from their mistakes, and who have a clear plan for their lives, even if he is rich, a man who can appreciate the hard-earned labor of others is the kind of man we want to be with. In this world, men are prejudiced against women and women are prejudiced against men. Prejudice is hard to eliminate, but it shouldn't influence us to be careful with what we say and what we do. You can't just grow a mouth and hands. It's not a matter of having a mouth and hands so you can turn into a mouth breather or a keyboard warrior and define others as you please. Looked at the man holding the microphone on stage and asked disdainfully, "What, you can't say anything because I'm blocking you?" I saw him glaring at me with a greenish, ghostly look on his face. Luna Spring, you're a clever talker. You talk so much just to cover up your vain nature. As soon as the words were out of his mouth, he blathered on about Ethan Frost, said that I was in love with Ethan Frost's skin, and that I coveted Ethan Frost's wealth. This led to a lot of chatter and a lot of noise in the auditorium. Just when I was angry and wanted to retort, the microphone in my hand was suddenly taken away. A tall figure wrapped his long arms around me and embraced me in his arms. Looked up and saw Xander Ching on stage at some point, his face very dark. You can shut the hell up. He looked irascible. You said she was in love with Ethan Frost's skin. I agree, but I can't agree with you that she covets Ethan Frost's money. Xander Ching looked down at me and said with a straight face, my niece Xander Ching lacks love, and she doesn't even lack money. My Uncle Xander, the first half of your sentence moved me to tears. Oh, you have to ruin the mood with the second half of your sentence. Why don't you just say I don't lack money? Why do you have to use the lack of love as an accompaniment? I covered my face speechlessly. But this strong statement from Xander Ching, while it surprised people that he was my uncle, it also really shocked everyone. After all, Xander Ching's reputation as a rich son is well known in the school. Just wanted to imply that he's done. Don't go too far with the drama and hurry down. Don't know who applauded on the stage at the wrong time. When I looked at him, it was Mr. Dark Knight, whom I hadn't seen in 2 months, with a gentle smile on his face. He took a step forward, he looked at me, and then at Xander Ching, who had his arms around me, said in an extremely friendly manner, Uncle Xander, I will be the unlucky one in the line of 3. Still the same cafeteria, still the same seat, only now there was a Xander Ching beside me. Ethan Frost tapped his fingers impatiently on the tabletop, his gaze fixed on me. Didn't dare to look up. I was on pins and needles. Thought to myself, it's over, we're in trouble. But Xander Ching, he was acting like I was the biggest uncle in the world. Say something, Ethan. Frost opened his mouth first. I looked up tremblingly, and when my eyes met, I felt very weak. thought it would be a good idea to die a good death and give an account of my life, so I spilled my guts about this ridiculous drama from beginning to end. Thought that Ethan Frost, after listening to this, would have his veins rippling, angrily pounding the table, angrily accusing me of deceiving him and playing tricks on him, but the atmosphere was much calmer and weirder than I'd imagined. Ethan Frost squeezes out those two words expressionlessly, and nodded my head honestly and straight, was silent for a moment and looked over at Xander Ching. Xander Ching rolled his eyes and sighed. Look, I'll just say it, when she was putting on this show, she was as smart and brave as anything. Now that she's been exposed, she's shrunken her head and spat it out, he said, getting up, exuding an air of annoyance. You should stop acting too. She lied to you, you lied to her. Are you two playing the limit pull here? Xander Ching said to me, pointing at Ethan Frost as he completely ignored us. My good Mingyue, do you really think you're the one who's setting him up? This guy is so dark, he's been setting you up from the beginning to the end. After saying that, he patted my head and left without looking back. My head was still on the fritz, trying to digest Xander Ching's words. What did he mean? Lying to me? Lied to me about what? Ethan Frost got up as I watched, sat down next to me, and took my cell phone, tapped on WeChat and searched out his account, adds himself back in front of me. How cruel, not even a month, and then pull me black. I smiled awkwardly. It's better to die late than early. By the way, have you chased the one you like? Ethan Frost said as his fingertips reached out and poked my cheek. Ling Mingyu, are you nuts? That person has always been you. Tongue-tied describes the extremely shocked me at this moment, right? In my confused state, Ethan Frost confessed bluntly. In fact, from the very beginning, he recognized this drama. After all, with Xander Ching's character, how could he not do something as ridiculous as jumping into the river? After learning of my plan, Ethan Frost told Xander Ching to take advantage of it. Himself pretended to be in the dark and accompanied me through the play. When I asked why I was willing to do that, Ethan Frost said, because it's you. Why was I willing to do it? Ethan Frost then took me back to an incident 4 or 5 years ago. Xander Ching and I were still in undergraduate school, but we were not in the same school. When I went to visit Xander Ching, it happened to be the masquerade ball of their college. Ethan Frost didn't want to go to the party, but Xander Ching organized it, so he was dragged to be the head of the party. Halfway through the ball, everyone was asked to find a partner to dance with. Ethan Frost said he was so fat and unassuming at that time. No girl wanted to accept his invitation, and no one asked him. At that awkward moment, a girl in a bunny mask took his hand and dragged him onto the dance floor. Though she was clumsy and couldn't dance, but she didn't care at all, ignoring the stares of the onlookers, and enjoyed dancing the whole dance with him. The two kept company for the second half of the dance. The girl ate the dessert with great relish and listened to him talk about the world, so cozy, until the end of the ball. The girl took off the mask, reflected in the boy's eyes that face, that smile, also deeply engraved in his heart. But he was too inferior to ask such a dazzling girl for her phone number or even her name. Always thought that this girl was from their school and thought that it would be a long time coming. Later he tried to find out about the girl while forcing himself to lose weight. But he hadn't seen the girl since. Ethan Frost paused and looked at me in disbelief. I finally reacted, and said with a shocked look on my face, "You're the fat guy." Oh my god, such a fat person, thinned down, such a big change. It's true that all fat people are potential stocks. I'm the one who's always there for you. Later Xander Ching said he fell out of love and jumped into the river. Course I didn't believe him, so I forced him to tell the truth. Didn't struggle, he told me everything. Ethan Frost rubbed my head and laughed. You can't imagine how happy I was when he showed me your picture. I found you after all those detours. My ears flushed and I was too shy to look Ethan Frost in the eye. Why don't you just confess? Keep up the act. They must have been talking about me behind my back, not to mention sharing their acting skills with each other. Maybe they're even sharing their acting skills with each other because you want to play. I'll play with you. Think it's funny that you're going through all this trouble to set me up. Ethan Frost cupped my face in his hands and laughed uncontrollably. The laugh was so powerful that it hit me right in the heart. I clutched my chest to stabilize my pounding heart. What do you want? I had a strange feeling. Ethan Frost flashes a wicked grin and whispers, Luna Spring, I don't think we've ever done this before. What thing? A thought quickly flashed through my mind. The next moment the warmth of my lips and the tingling of my body confirmed my suspicions. Ethan Frost nodded lightly and tenderly before resting his head on my shoulder and reading, It's a good thing I met you again, who used to amaze me like that. I can rest in peace for the rest of my life. Those words, the corners of my mouth couldn't help but rise, and I reached out to wrap my arms back around him in response. Same to you. Please take care of me for the rest of my life. End. Extra short story on how to politely dissuade a love rival. The school's anniversary celebrations are getting hotter and hotter, coupled with Xander Ching's manipulation of the situation recently. More and more people have been blocking me on the road, although I refused one by one based on the principle of not giving a ray of hope. However, people are getting more and more enthusiastic as if they are just joining in the fun. Don't think most of them are really interested in me. They're just trying to make things happen, Ethan Frost said. Well, that's the adults solve problems in adult ways. You can't turn down admirers with your mouth, and so Ethan Frost did something that was absolutely brilliant. There were 4 cafeterias in the school, and for 3 days in a row, all 4 of them were handing out free, delicious desserts. On top of each dessert were the same words, Luna Spring and Ethan Frost. Not only that, but the counselors, advisors, and leaders of the university, the dormitory aunts and the security guards of the campus, all of them received a gift box with exquisite refreshments. And the gift boxes were also printed, Luna Spring and Ethan Frost. For those who are not aware, they would think that we are getting engaged. So much so, that no matter where I am in the school now, people are saying to me, congratulations, in just 3 days. Everyone in the school knew that Luna Spring had a boyfriend named Ethan Frost, from the students to the teachers to the administration. Everyone was on a sugar high. Ethan Frost's method of taking the easy way out was effective. For quite some time, no one really came after me. Ethan Frost's words, who dares to pry the CP that everyone in the school is high on? Well, whatever Mr. Yen says is right.